Hello everyone, I'm Landon Tung and I'm coming back to you with another video. This time we are going to work on the Sudoku solver. I'm going to be completing it locally. You can use REPL if you would like, but I'm going to do it locally. This project is about solving a Sudoku puzzle automatically. So it's got some real life uses. You can use it to complete the paper's Sudoku if you'd like, but it has to be functionally similar to this project right here, where we can solve it or we can check a number. So like A1, we can check if it's 9. Obviously, it won't be because it conflicts with the region and the row. But if it's it could be a 7, so valid true because 7 doesn't conflict with any row, region, or column. And we can also just tell it to solve and it will solve the whole puzzle right away. And it's given any input string you would like. So as long as you can, give it a valid input string, it should be able to solve it. If there's one less dot, then it won't be able to solve it. It'll say expected puzzle is 81 characters. Or if there's an invalid character in there as well, like a T, then it will say invalid characters in puzzle. And so yeah, this is what we're building today. Let's get started. Okay, I'm going to go to the GitHub repo and get the code. And then I'm going to clone it into my VS Code. So to clone it, I'm going to do git clone and paste in that link. And there we go. It got cloned in. It's this boilerplate project Sudoku solver. I'm going to change the name of it to the Sudoku solver. Let's say here's our project. I'm going to just open that folder. All right, there we go. Here's our bare bones Sudoku solver project. Inside of package.json, what do we have? We have NodeMon already installed, so that's good. And we can start NodeMon with NodeMon server.js. We don't need a database for this one. Although if you would like to connect to a database and like save all your completed Sudokus, that seems cool to me. You get extra credit for that. Yeah, I'm just gonna not connect to a database because that's extra. Here's the sample env. We just have port and node env equals test. With the sample env, we create our own .env. So let me do that quick and copy over the sample env. And actually, we only need these two. We don't even need the comments. If we want to run the test, we just uncomment out this line. And the port just tells us what port we're on. Most of the work is going to be done in routes API.js. This is for API check and API solve. And inside controllers, inside of Sudoku solver, here we have to do a lot of work as well. Okay, so the solve function is the weird one. I'm going to actually be trying to use ChatGPT to solve that one for me, or to, complete this algorithm. If I did it by myself, it would take way too long. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to do it. I don't know what it's going to come up with, but it'll come up with something. All right, so let's try that out. I'm going to ask ChatGPT right away and then connect it later. So let's try it. All right, ChatGPT. They have this new alpha thing, which I guess is ChatGPT 4. I'm going to try it and see what it comes up with. So I'm going to say create a Sudoku solver function in JavaScript and see what it comes up with. And I'm just going to copy it and paste it, and then maybe have to change a few things, but I think it should be pretty decent. I mean, it's ChatGPT 4. It should be good, right? And here it goes. Looking good so far. I mean, not exactly sure how this works. Looks like the board is a two-dimensional array of dots and numbers. Kind of explains how they did it. And I'm just going to copy all this code, go into my own project, and just replace the solve function. And the board is a two-dimensional array, so I'm going to have to change it to that. All right, so since this function takes in a board like this, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to take our puzzle string and then turn it into a board that looks like this. Since with theirs, we get puzzle strings and they look like this, I need to turn this just one string into a two-dimensional array. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to convert that to. So I'm going to say create a JavaScript function that takes a Sudoku string sample of like .3, .4, .5, .29, etc., and transforms it into a two-dimensional array for use in the solve Sudoku function. All right, here we go. Looks like it gave me something, and it's pretty small. It's a lot smaller than what I came up with originally. Let me just put it above this stuff and get rid of the function keyword. Save that, and then we can use the string to board inside before the solve function. Yeah, I think I messed up when I changed the name of solve Sudoku to solve because it's nested and there's more than one solve function. So now it should be correct again. I just recopied from ChatGPT. All right, and then I'm just going to come up with my own function here. Let's do, yeah, solve complete or complete Sudoku. And then it takes in the puzzle string and it will return the completed Sudoku. Yes, there we go. Or not ChatGPT, but GitHub Copilot helped me with that. That does this dot string to board, and then it passes in the board to the solve Sudoku, and then we do flat dot join to give us the completed puzzle string. Okay, let me try using this in API.js. Inside of API solve, let's try using this. Okay, this looks okay for now. Yeah, Copilot, man. I don't even know if this is correct. Let me check quick. Okay, instead of solver.solve, it should be solver.complete Sudoku. Otherwise, I think it's okay for now. Let me see if it works. So to start our project, I first have to do an npm install. Shouldn't take too long. And then I can do npm run start. And it should start our nodemon server. Although I already have a address in use, I just have to stop my other project. All right, let me try this one again. All right, there we go. It's on localhost 3000. All right, so here's our project. Oh, it looks like FreeCodeCamp added these numbers in since last time. All right, let's try solving it. Oh, look at that. It worked right off the bat. Holy crap. Let's go. And of course, this stuff doesn't work yet because I don't have that implemented. But wow, I was able to solve it. Just ChatGPT is just insane. What do they even do? It's like, I don't even understand it. I think it's a backtracking algorithm, so it just like checks if we can place a number. If it can't, then it'll go back to until it can, and it will retry until it gets all the way through. I think that's how it works. Anyway, let's work on more of this validation stuff because there's no way it will pass all the tests. All right, the first thing is inside of our Sudoku solver class, we have this validate function, and I'm going to do the functionality for this. Here, if we take in the puzzle, and if there's no puzzle, then we return required field missing. If the puzzle length is not 81, we say expected puzzle is 81 characters long. Otherwise, if there's a T or an invalid character in there, then we say invalid characters in puzzle. Otherwise, we return valid. And then we're going to use this validate function inside of API.js, inside of API check, and inside of API solve. Check we're going to do is say if solver.validate the puzzle is not valid, then we're going to respond with the solver.validate puzzle, and that will be the message that is invalid. So like here, it gives us the return is one of these three things, or four things, these four strings. I'm going to also add it into the start of this one right here. And so that should validate the puzzle. We also need some more checks, especially for this API check route, where you get the puzzle coordinate and value out of rec.body. And we say if no puzzle coordinate or value, then required fields are missing. and it's different from what the validate function returns. It just says required field missing, not fields. So that's why it's different. The rest of this API check route is right here. So we can see we get the row and the column out of the coordinate. We split the first one, which would be the letter, and then the second, or the next index would be the column, which is the number. And then we make sure if the length is not 2, or if it's not A through I or 1 through 9, then it will be an invalid coordinate. If the value that's passed in, so the value would be this value right here. If it's not 1 through 9, then it will say invalid value. And then right here, this might be a little complicated, but here we get the index of whatever it is, the index of the coordinate. So in the case of A3, we would get the row, which would be A, and we have this letter to number function, which I can add right now. All right, here I just added a letter to number function as a helper function, and it takes the row like A, and it just gives us 1, or B is 2, C is 3, and so on. So then the row will be A3, so it'll be 1, and then minus 1 would be 0, times 9 would be 0, but then we do plus column, and the column is given, which would be 3, and we do 3 minus 1 to give us an index of 2. So if the puzzle at index 2 equals the value, then we say valid equals true. And this will work for all of them as well. So like if it's, C3, then it will be C minus 1, which would be 2, then times 9 would be 18, and then plus 2 would be 20, and then index 20, it'll check if that value is there already. If it is, then it'll say true. Okay. Then moving on, we have our check column placement, check region placement, and check row placement, and we actually have to do those functions now. Inside of Sudoku Solver, they just give us the starter interface of what to do. Let me implement this. Honestly, if we wanted to, we could probably ask ChatGPT to do this one for us too. But I think it's okay to figure this one out. Here we do a transform as well. So this dot transform, I think, what did we call it actually? String to board. So here we go, string to board, and that gives us the grid. Use our letter to number function to give us the row. And basically we check the whole row because it's 9 characters long. And basically if it's anywhere in the row, if the value is in there, then we return false. Otherwise we'll return true if it's not there. That's how to do the check row placement. The check column placement is very similar. The whole start of check column placement is the same as check row placement, except this ending part, which is we do column minus 1 and we do grid of I. Instead of row minus 1 I, we do I column minus 1. And that's the only difference for the check column placement. Now check region placement is quite a bit different. All right, here's the check region placement. First, again, we get the grid and the row and a number because we do letter to number. But this time, honestly, I don't even know why I'm doing these checks in here. So like not equals 0 check. I don't even think I need that. I'm gonna get rid of those. But for the check region placement, we do like row modulus 3 and column modulus 3, and then we do a double for loop. And then inside of here, it's a little bit more complicated, but hopefully you guys can copy this and figure it out, what it does. And then we should be able to run this and check placement. And here we get a conflict of row and column. Perfect. Let me refresh this quick. If I do A1 or A3 of 9, we get valid true because it's already there. If we do A2 and give it 9, conflict is row region and column because there's a 9 in the region. There's a 9 in the row, and there's a 9 in the column right here at E2. Back in API.js, so yeah, we take all of those checks and we have a conflicts array. And if none of them conflict, then we say valid true. Otherwise, if one of them conflicts, then we'll push on whichever one it was. So if it's the row that's not valid, then we push on row conflict and column region. And then we respond with valid false. Conflict is the conflicts that were laid out. And that is the full check function. API/check. The solve route, let me check if this is right. Okay, this is a little bit wrong. The one thing we have to do is for this if statement, the solve string is this, solution. I'm just gonna change this to solve string. If there's no solve string, then it says puzzle cannot be solved. Otherwise, it gives us the solution. Yeah, it'll return false if it can't solve it. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, just to check that, let's try changing this 2 to a 1, and then it should not be able to be solved. Okay, it doesn't give me anything. What does it return? Okay, it looks like it returns just a list, just uncompleted. I wonder if there's a way I can make it so that it returns false if it's unsolvable. Let's ask ChatGPT, change the solve Sudoku function to return false if the puzzle is unsolvable. See what it comes up with. Okay, this looks right. I'm just going to copy what they have, replace what I have here, see what it gives me. All right, so I think the big difference here is at the end. If solve doesn't work, then it will return false. Otherwise, it will give us the board. All right, so let's try this again. Hit solve. What does it give me? Okay, it just gives me false and it crashes. Solve board.flat is not a function. Yeah, because it's false, that's why. So I'm going to say if not solved board, return false. And then that should handle that. All right, so if I save this again, go back here and hit solve, then there we go. We see error puzzle cannot be solved. If I refresh this and solve it, it still solves correctly. Awesome. Let's go. All right, so it should pass most of the tests on FreeCodeCamp. Let's try it. All right, cool. It passes all the tests except for the 12 unit tests and 14 functional tests that are our own tests. Let's do those now. So the tests can be found inside of the test folder and unit tests. They don't give us much to work with here. Here's what I did though. So they have these puzzle strings here of some like valid puzzles and the completed puzzle. So I use these ones inside of my test. So inside the unit test, I take one of those puzzles, and it's one of the valid puzzles, and I say the complete is like this, and we just make sure that when we solve it, it equals that. And it's actually not called solve. We call it complete puzzle or something. Complete Sudoku. Let me grab all these solve functions. Dot complete Sudoku. All right, there we go. So here it handles a puzzle string of 81 characters. Here it does invalid puzzle, so it'll return false. Again, invalid puzzle returns false. We check the row placement, 829. Check row placement at an invalid row placement should return false and true false and all of these ones. For a 3x3 grid, invalid region, invalid region. The valid puzzle string passes solver. Valid puzzle strings fail the solver. So this one is invalid because we have two ones right at the start. And then the solver returns the expected solution for an incomplete puzzle. And yeah, there we get the expected solution. All right, so let's try these tests. The way we run these tests is just by going into .env and uncommenting this out, and then we just have to restart our server. All right, so Control C and npm run start again, and it should run the unit tests. See if these complete. Okay, one of them fails. We expected this to equal false. Oh, because there's a G in it. Yeah, there's a G in this one. Yeah, I don't know why that one didn't. Anyway, we'll take a look at that later. Let's take a look at the functional tests. All right, it gives us a suite. Here's the functional test I came up with. All right, this takes this gives us an actual request to the server. So we do API/solve, and we can use our valid puzzle again and the complete string to try out these tests. And this one, we don't need to have a timeout on any of these because it doesn't really take that long to solve these puzzles. Whereas, saving data in a database takes a long time usually, or sometimes it can. So we don't need a timeout on these tests. Here we solve a puzzle with missing puzzle string. We solve a puzzle with invalid characters, so we get invalid characters in puzzle. Solve a puzzle with incorrect length, so we get expected puzzle to be 81 characters. Here we solve a puzzle that cannot be solved, and it says puzzle cannot be solved. We check a puzzle placement with all fields. So here we check valid puzzle, and it should be valid true. Check a puzzle placement with single placement conflict. This one, A2 on this puzzle, a valid puzzle, only has one conflict there. I just had to, go through and check and see what it would be. Check a puzzle placement with multiple placement conflicts. Check a puzzle placement with all placement conflicts. Check a puzzle placement with missing required fields. Check a puzzle placement with invalid characters. Check a puzzle placement with incorrect length. Check a puzzle placement with invalid placement coordinate. Check a puzzle placement with invalid placement value. And those are all my functional tests. Let's see if these ones work. It looks like all of them work. So all the functional tests work. The only one that doesn't work is this unit test. And this unit test, I need to figure out how I can, say it's invalid if there's a G. I think I can do that with just kind of repeating some of my functionality from my API. So in this case, I check if there's a letter inside of here, inside of the puzzle. Let me see here. Oh yeah, I use this solver.validate thing, right? So let me just take this and put it inside of my Sudoku solver for this complete Sudoku. All right, so it'll take the puzzle string and it will not res.json, but it will return false if it's not valid. Okay. And then it will just take in the puzzle string. All right, save that, and now all those tests should pass. So let me see, open up my terminal. Okay, here we get solver's not defined. That because I just have to do this dot validate. That's why. Now let's open this up, running tests, and there we go. All 26 are passing. Fantastic. Let's go. Okay, so now I can, submit this to FreeCodeCamp and all the tests complete. All right. So that was the Sudoku solver project from FreeCodeCamp. I hope you learned a lot. I certainly did. ChatGPT is amazing, as always. And, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I read all the comments, and I'll see you later. Peace out. Bye.